The current landscape of the animation industry is a little frustrating. Sure, every once in a while we'll have a movie that's refreshing and new, but it seems like the name of the game these days is sequels, sequels, sequels. I mean, this isn't to say that all sequels are bad. The Last Wish showed us just how much a sequel can bring new life to a property, while also kind of reinventing it from the ground up. Like, I have a hard time even seeing these as the same thing. So when I first saw the trailer for The Wild Robot, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. After all, it's a film based on a book, which sounds good in theory, but remember that this was also based on a book. Anyway, enough of my rambling, let's talk about the movie. I knew from the moment I saw the trailer that this film looked stunning. But actually seeing it in theater only confirmed this. It's beautiful. I was surprised to see the DreamWorks logo before this movie because I genuinely thought it was some sort of artsy third-party studio behind this. It has such a different vibe than what I'm used to with their work. The story feels more like one you'd expect from a Pixar film or even Studio Ghibli. Hell, Roz low-key looks like the robots from Castle in the Sky, which had me geeking out a little bit. Of course, there are a lot of upbeat, fun and games kind of moments in this film, but a lot of it feels more grounded, stoic, and even kind of morbid. My favorite joke in the whole movie had me both laughing and in shock.
A Rosm always completes its task.
You're lucky you just have one. As a mother of 7. 6 babies.
Like, holy shit. But as weird as it sounds, this is where the movie really shines. Over the years, we've seen so many films that discuss what happens when nature has to adapt to technology, but what would happen if a robot was forced to adapt to nature? A machine that is programmed to understand order is thrown into an environment of uncertainty, unpredictability, and violence. Roz being a robot even keeps her from feeling typical biological responses to this uncertainty and unpredictability. She has a power core, so she doesn't have the instinct to find food, meaning she can just wander and explore with no worries. Her worries are serving others. I mean, that's what she was designed to do after all. Which is even funnier because she's been put in a place where everything around her is living by the mantra, survival of the fittest. The animals don't just think she's weird and a monster because she looks different. They think those things because animals don't typically help other animals in the wild. So to them, they think there must be some sort of sinister ulterior motive to her seemingly kind intentions. The other major instinct that Roz doesn't have is fear. While fear can be unhealthy at times, it's also a biological response that helps keep us alive. When we're afraid, we understand the severity of whatever situation might be causing that fear. We can pinpoint the threat. This lack of fear from Roz makes sense because she has no fear of death. Sure, she later gains sentience and develops a more noticeable sense of self-preservation, but that's not what we see early on. She doesn't run away from the bear because she's worried about being dismantled and dying. That would mean that she's specifically worried about her own well-being. No, she runs away from the bear because if she gets torn apart, that means she won't be able to get back to universal dynamics and serve her creators like she was designed to do. And it's fascinating to see how that sentience slowly manifests throughout the film. You can see how she goes from making decisions she was designed to make, to then making decisions she wants to make. The decisions that give her a sense of conviction. This steady transformation is incredible to watch, but Roz isn't the only one left changed by the end of the film. Nature was able to show Roz the beauties of life and individuality. It showed her that her instincts to serve others, while noble, don't always serve her. It's not selfish to have wants, to build meaningful connections with others, or to have dreams. But Roz also changed the nature around her. She showed the animals that maybe some of their instincts have worked for them, but there are other ways they could live on this island that would benefit everyone. And a lesser story would have had her give a quirky lesson to the animals on why they should work together, but that's not what happens. Instead, this change comes as a result of a crisis. A snowstorm devastates the island, and it looks like it might not leave any survivors. Roz and her friend Fink are fine as they've built a shelter that will keep them safe even in a situation like this. But instead of doing what any other animal would have done, worry about themselves, she realizes that she has the ability to save the animals on the island. So she goes out, grabs every animal she can find, and brings them back to the shelter. And once she finally gets done with this, she doesn't give the animals an aggressive lecture. No, at this point she's put every bit of her power into that task, so all she can do is plead with the animals, plead them not to turn on each other. She's desperate for these animals to work together. She wants them all to live. She doesn't want her efforts to be in vain. And the beautiful thing is, when she wakes up, she realizes it wasn't in vain. Even though they were a bunch of wild animals, they were able to see the extreme lengths Roz went to save them all. She didn't owe them anything. This was a group that openly discriminated her. But even after all that, Roz saw the value in all of their lives. It made the animals realize that yeah, nature is nature, but maybe it doesn't have to be that way. The Wild Robot was a fun film to watch. Was it perfect? Of course not, but it had heart. The themes that it covers open the floor for a fun discussion, one about what it means to be alive. I also want to say, just from a technical standpoint, I think the voice cast of this movie did a stellar job. Most of the time when I watch an animated film, even if it's a great performance, I can still identify voice actors when I hear them. So I think the film did a good job at immersing me to the point that I was surprised to see some of the names that I saw when the credits rolled. Like, I had no idea Fink was voiced by Pedro Pascal, but the moment I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, duh. And Mark Hamill as the bear? Fun performance as usual. I hope this film can show the studios that people do want to see new films. I know they have to make money and familiar IPs sell, but deep down, I know people want to see stories with heart. Stories that ask new questions. Which is ironic for me to say when there's already murmurs of a sequel for this very film, but listen, I'm not anti-sequel. It just makes me sad for something to really resonate with people and see it peter out into irrelevancy. It's Hollywood quite literally saying, let's just keep making these until people don't like them anymore. It's just disheartening to say the least. Didn't mean for this to become a rant about sequels, but to be fair, I'm not the only one thinking this. We all just want to see beautiful works of art that make us think. Speaking of which, I hope some of my thoughts on this film got you thinking. I'd love to see more discussion in the comments down below. Like I said, I didn't talk about everything, mainly just the things that stuck out to me the most. So I'd love to hear what stuck out to you. Maybe you got some thoughts on Bright Bill. I think that they probably could have utilized his character a little bit better, but maybe you have different opinions. I'd be so curious to hear. Anyways, thanks so much for watching my video, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later.